Do you guys always find it difficult to start your journey with Excel? Are you looking for one video that can help you to learn everything from very basic to very advanced? Hello, my name is SUMIF and in this particular video, I'll be helping you with everything that you need to start your journey with Excel. We'll be also covering about macros that will help you to automate your task in Excel. But before we do that, don't forget to check out Scalar's free masterclass on Scalar's event page. The link is in the description box. In this particular video, we'll be starting with the basics of Excel. We'll be trying to understand various Excel functions. We'll be also covering lookups and pivot table. At the end of this video, we'll be trying to understand macros and how you can use macros to automate your various tasks in Excel. Before we start this video, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now here I have created sheets, and the reason I'm calling them sheet is because when you talk about Excel, Excel is basically a tool that is a part of the Microsoft Office family. So Microsoft Office is basically a software and it comes with a lot of tools. So you have PowerPoint presentation, you have documents. Similarly, Excel is a tool. Now when we talk about Excel, a particular interface in an Excel file is known as a workbook. Now here, what you can see on my screen is a workbook. Each workbook, so assume that you are reading a book. Each workbook comes with a variety of sheets. So here, what you look down on the bottom of my screen is basically the sheet of a particular workbook. Now you can have multiple sheets as per your requirement, and each sheet comes with, so let me add one sheet over here, and this particular sheet you can see it has been named as sheet 1 automatically, and this particular sheet comes with cell. So this is known as a cell. This is known as a particular cell in Excel sheet. Now this cell, or maybe any cell in this particular worksheet, is having a name. Each cell gets a name. How to define the name? So what you have to do, you have to read the column and then read the row. If you closely observe, here you can get the name of a cell, A2. So it is column A, row 2. Similarly, this one is B2, column B, row 2. So this is basically a cell. Now using this cell or using this combination of cells, we can enter our data. And once you enter your data, you can basically do a variety of operations. You can perform various mathematical operations. You can perform conditional formatting. You can perform string matching. You can do a lot of operations. So let's start with some basic operations, some basic mathematical operations. Now the very first simplest operation is how to get the sum of a series of cells. So if you closely observe, here I'm having a sample data which is having students, the name of the student, and their marks in variety of subjects, maths, science, English. Now let's say I wanted to calculate the total. So in Excel, if you want to apply any formula, you have to initiate by writing is equal to, and then we write down the formula. So as soon as you write is equal to, that basically means you are now willing to apply a formula in this cell. If you do not write is equal to, it is a raw cell. You can enter the raw data with no formulas. But as soon as you press and is equal to, so is equal to means now you are willing to write a formula. So here we are willing to write a formula which is sum. Now how we can take the sum? There are multiple methods. One is I can directly use the formula. Second one is I can individually add the values. So let's learn the individual addition first. So I wanted to add this value. Now as you can see, as soon as I clicked on this value, I can see M5 is getting automatically mentioned over here. So why M5? This is column M and row 5. Then I'll write plus. So simple plus sign. I wanted to add this number with signs. And you can see now I'm getting N5 because this is column N, row 5. Then again plus, then I want to add O5. So M5 plus N5 plus O5. As I press enter, you can see I'm getting the sum as 259. Now if I wanted to apply the same formula in the below rows, for example this row or this row, and the following up rows, Excel provides a very great functionality that is known as to expand the formula. I can expand the formula to the below cells also. You can see that as I take my mouse or my cursor to this small green box that you can find over here, it is converting into a plus sign. And now I will click on this and I expand. I take this particular area or maybe the cell or selection to the below row, and it will take it to all the rows where I wanted to apply the formula, and done. So as you can see that since I have extended or expanded my formula to the below rows, in this particular row you can see I'm getting M9, N9, O9. So what parameter has changed? The row number. In this I was having row number as 555, which is M5, N5, O5. Now I am having parameter as M9, N9, O9. So the parameter which has got changed is the row number. But if I expand this formula vertically from column to column, you will find out that the parameter which will automatically change is your column. So let's see one example. If I take this, expand this formula to the next cell, you can see I'm getting 423. Now if I double click on this, you can see that the formula has shifted. So previously I was adding M5, N5, O5. Now I'm having N5, O5, P5. So the complete formula has been shifted with one cell. I hope you guys are able to understand this, how this expansion works. But this is wrong, right? I do not want the column to change. I want the rows to change, but I do not want columns to change. In that case, what you can do, Excel provides you with a method known as freeze. I wanted to freeze a particular component. So what is the meaning of freeze? Let me delete this formula because this is wrong. Now we'll say M5 plus N5 plus O5. Now since I do not want the column to change, I'll add a dollar sign before M. So $M5, $N5 and $O5. Now what is the meaning of dollar? Dollar means I have freezed. I do not want this column to change. So now if I press enter, I am getting 259. Now if I try to expand this formula to the next cell vertically, you'll see that I'm getting the same answer because now I have freezed. I do not want the column to change. Now, but if I take this formula down, if I take this formula horizontally, if I expand the formula horizontally, we will find out that the rows are going to change. So here you can see that I'm getting M9, N9, O9. So this is how we can find out the sum by simply using the sum sign. But if I wanted to use the formula, so I'll delete all these things. And now we are going to write, one second. So I'll select it, I'll delete. Now I wanted to write the sum formula. So sum formula is simply sum. Then it takes number 1, number 2, number 3. So I'll say number 1, comma, number 2, comma, number 3, parenthesis close and enter. And this is as simple as this. I will expand the formula. So I'll take this, expand it to all the bottom rows and we are done. So this is how we can simply use the sum formula. Let's go to other arithmetic operations like minimum, maximum. Now let's say I wanted to find the minimum of this particular series. So if among all these students, what was the minimum maths mark? How to do this? Is equal to min. The formula for finding out minimum is min. Again, what it takes? It takes value 1, comma, value 2, comma, value 3, comma, value 4, comma, value 5, and close parentheses. Now this is one of the way in which you can write down this formula, like value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4. Another way, which is the more easy way, is to mention the range. I can simply take my cursor to the first value and expand it to the place I wanted to find out, or maybe the selection area or the range area. So I want to find out the minimum value in the range that is described by M5 to M9. So from M5, which is this row, to M9, which is this row, and parentheses close and enter. So we are done. Now this is more easy way because you do not have to write multiple, you do not have to make multiple selection, then write comma, comma, comma. So it's very simple. Now again, we will use the expansion method. I will expand this formula vertically, and you can see that I am able to get the minimum value of each column. Now here you can see, if I double click, so this M5 to M9 got changed to N5 to N9. So my column component got changed. Similarly over here, the M5 to M9 got changed to O5 to O9. So again, the column component got changed. Now let's find out max. So as min, you have max. So we will quickly look at one example, max, and I want this array, find out the maximum in this array, and it is 99. Again, expand the formula and we are done. Let's find out average. Now average is something which you can find out by writing out two formulas, which is sum divided by count, or you can use the mean formula also. So let's use both the formulas. So I'm saying is equal to average, and I need to select the range. So these are the three values for which I wanted to find out the range. Parentheses closed, enter, and I'll expand the formula. So you can see that I'm able to find out the average. Another way is I can apply the formula which is two components. First of all, I will find out the sum. So let's find out the sum. So this is my sum. And since I am having three subjects, I'll write 3 over here. And I'll copy this 3. So I'll write 3 over here, and I'll copy this 3 for all the rows. And now I'll simply apply the formula is equal to this value divided by this value and enter. So you can see you are getting the same answer. This is another way in which you can apply average. Now what is sum product? Sum product means first take the product, then take the sum. So what if I wanted to find out, the weighted average. What is weighted average? Or maybe before weighted average, let's say I wanted to find out the weighted sum. So I wanted to multiply this number with this weight, and then plus this number with this weight, and then plus this number with this weight. So your formula sum product takes the array 1, array 2, array 3, and so on. Now let's quickly look into the formula. Is equal to sum product. Here we have the formula. I wanted to multiply this array with this array. Now what will happen? It will take the first value of this array, which is M5, multiply with the first value of this array, which is M11, and then plus N5 into N11 plus O5 into O11. And then it will add all the values, you will get the answer. Now, if I press enter, I'll get the right answer, but as I expand this formula, you'll find out I'm getting 0. Now the reason is, if I double click over here, you will find out that as I'm shifting my rows and as I'm expanding my formula, the row component is also changing. Now how we can overcome this problem? Simple, we will freeze this array. So I do not want this array to change. Now I will add dollars to both rows and columns. The easiest way of doing this thing is, if you have to add dollars to both rows and columns, you can use the shortcut key F4. If I press F4, you can see that it has automatically added dollars to both rows and columns, and over here also. Now I press enter, and now I'll expand this formula to all the rows. And here we do not have a value, so let's delete it. So this is SUMPRODUCT. Now what is RAND? RAND is basically finding out a random number between 0 and 1. So let's say I wanted to find out a random number, and I just have to say RAND, and it will automatically return me the random number between 0 and 1. If I expand this, now please remember, this number will change on each click. Let's say if I apply some operations, let's say is equal to 1 plus 2. If I press enter, you can see that all the values will change, all the random values. Now if you do not want these values to change, simply copy it, and then when you're pasting it, I'll go to paste spatial and I'll use paste values, and you can see that now I'm getting the previous value. Now even if I do some mathematical operation like 3 minus 2, you can see that all the values are changing because these are the randomly generated values, but since we have pasted this, it will not change. So this is how you can do it. Now RANDBETWEEN, let's say you wanted to define a certain range, that between this range, lower to maximum, minimum to maximum, you wanted to generate some random numbers. How we can do this? RANDBETWEEN, bottom number is, let's say I wanted to generate numbers between 100, or maybe let's say 0 to 100. And here you can see we have the numbers. If I expand this, I'll get numbers for all the rows. Again, on each mathematical operation or on each click, on each enter, this value will change. You can copy it, paste as values to get rid of it. Now let's look at some of the string functions. So the very first string function is trim. Now what is the functionality of trim? Let's try to understand it. Trim function is used to trim out or remove the leading and the trailing spaces. So for example, if I say trim and I want to trim out the leading and the trailing spaces for this string, which says student1, you can see that I'm getting a string without any spaces. I wanted to apply this formula for all the rows, so I'll expand this formula, and here you can see that I'm getting all the values in the correct format. Then we have concatenate. Now concatenate will help you to add multiple strings to create a maybe one single string. We have two methods to do it. You can use concatenate or you can use the ampersand sign. Now Let me demonstrate you both the ways. So is equal to concatenate. I wanted to use this function. I wanted this value to appear, followed by the text has scored, followed by the value 95, followed by in, and followed by this subject. Now since I need a space, I'll add a space over here, and I'll add a space over here also, and a space after this also, and a space after this. Let's check. So we have the answer. Now I want this formula to be applied in all the rows so that I can get it for all the students. But what I don't want to change is the column. So for this, which is the subject math, I want the column to change. I want the column to change, but I do not want the row to change. So I'll apply dollar to my row. And for my student 1 and the marks, I want the row to change, but I do not want the column to change. So I'll apply dollar to my column names. And let's press enter. And now let's try to expand this formula. So we have student 1, student 2, student 3. And if I expand this formula like this, now we have student 1, student 2, student 3, 95 marks. Okay, we have done a mistake over here. So for the marks, I want both the rows and columns to change. So I'll remove this dollar and I'll press enter. And now let's try it out. This is fine and this is fine. So now you are able to understand that we have generated the sentences for all the students for all the subjects. Now ampersand method is straightforward. So I wanted to add this, and so ampersand, which is and, I wanted to add has scored, then ampersand marks, then ampersand in science, and here you can see we have the answer. Now if you wanted to add spaces, the same thing that we will do, I will apply spaces on both the ends of a particular string, and we are done. So this is how you can use ampersand. Now let's understand what is the usage of substitute function. Substitute function basically helps you to perform replacement substitutes. So how this works? So what I wanted to substitute? I wanted to substitute this particular letter B with D. So I'll say is equal to substitute text. Now what you wanted to substitute? I wanted to replace B with D, and we are done. And similarly you can do for all the other strings. You can look at various examples over here. It is quite simple to understand. Upper and lower. So let's say I wanted to convert a string completely to uppercase. So upper, I wanted to convert this string into uppercase, and for lower is equal to lower, I wanted to convert this complete string into lowercase. And I'll expand this formula. And we are done. Now length function basically returns you the count of characters, like how many characters I'm having in a string. So is equal to len. For length we use len and this. So this particular character, or maybe this particular string, is having 9 characters. For it includes a space also. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So a student is having 7 characters. 8th one is the space and 9th one is the character 1. So total 9. Then we have left, right and mid. Now left, right and mid is used to basically perform extractions. Like from left, how many characters you want. From right, how many characters you want. From mid, how many characters you want. Let's see one example. So this is basically the, let's say the QR code value 2018 ABCDE 43. And I wanted to extract all the years. So I'll say is equal to left. I want apply formula on this text, comma, how many characters you need from left. So I need 1 2 3 4, which is a 4-digit number. So 4 and close, enter. So I'm getting 2018. If I expand this formula to all the rows, I'm getting all the years, the first 4 character of each string. Then right, so it's equal to right the text followed by number of characters from right. So I need 2 characters from right, and I can expand this formula. So now let's talk about mid function. What mid do? It takes the input as the string followed by from where we have to start the extraction. So I have to start the extraction from the 5th character, so 5. Then from 5, how many characters you need? So I need the next 1 2 3 4 5. So A B C D E. So I need the next 5 characters, so 5. And I'll expand this formula to all the rows. And you can see that we are getting the middle word for each of these string value, which was over here. So this is how you can apply various string operations. Now let's move to some logical operators. So we have and, or. And returns you a true when all the conditions are true, then only it will return you a true. So let's say I wanted to find out all those people who are having 100 score in maths. So how we'll do that? I'll say is equal to this particular value is equal to 100. So I've written M5 is equal to 100. Now this will return me true or false. If M5 is equal to 100, I'll get a true, else I'll get a false. I am getting a false. If I expand this formula to all the rows, here you are getting a true for this particular value, which is student number 4. Now, if a particular student has scored more than 75 marks in all the subjects, then the person is having distinction. So how we will do that? I have to use the AND operator now, is equal to AND. Then first logical condition. So this value is greater than 75, comma, this value is greater than 75, comma, this value is greater than 75. And if all the 3 values, or maybe if all the 3 conditions are true, I'll get a true. Please remember, using AND operator, you will only get a true if all the 3 conditions are true. So let's press enter and let's expand this formula. And here I'm getting true for these 2 person and the first person, because for them the marks or maybe the score is greater than 75 for all the 3 subjects. Now let's say I wanted to find out, I want to get true if the marks for any of the subject is less than 35. So how we will do that is equal to, or if this marks is less than 35 or this is less than 35 or this is less than 35. So I need a true if either of the condition is true. Remember, OR operator returns you a true if either of the condition is true. So I'm getting a true because here, so remember I have applied this formula on this row. So here you can see that this particular marks is below 35. This is 30, so I'm getting a true. Now let's talk about if conditions. So in the AND or OR operator, we have learned that using AND or OR, we can only generate true or false. But what if I have to generate a value? So if a certain condition is true, I need a particular value as an output. And if it is false, I again need a value as an output. For such requirement, we have what is known as the if operator. So let's say I have to apply this particular condition. Before that, let's talk about this. I have to generate A if the marks are greater than 75 for maths, else I need B. So I'll simply say is equal to if, then logical test. My test is this value greater than 75, or let's write greater than equal to 75, comma, I need A, else I need B. And so now you can see that I'm getting A because his or her marks are 99. But what if I wanted to apply nested if, like multiple conditions? So let's say these are my conditions. I need A for which the marks are greater than or equal to 85, else I need B, else I need C based on this condition. So let's apply this formula is equal to if logical test, if this is greater than or equal to 85, then I need A, else, so instead of writing else, we'll write another if this value is less than 60, then I need a C, else I need a C, else I need a B, and press enter. I think I have mismatched something. Let's quickly check. Excel has automatically balanced the brackets, so that was the issue with the brackets. And now I'm getting a. Let's expand this formula. So I'm getting C over here because here the marks are less than 60. Now what if I have to count if the certain condition is true? So let's say I have to count how many people have obtained A in maths. So is equal to COUNTIF. I have to apply COUNTIF condition in this range, and my condition is if this range matches the value A. So I can manually write A, or I can select A from here, and let's press enter. So I'm getting 3. If I expand this formula to down to the below rows, I'll get B, C, because here, since I have written a dynamic formula, here also you can see that the selected range is also shifting. So this is wrong. So we have to again manipulate the formula. We have to freeze this range. F4 is the shortcut key, which we have already learned. And let's press enter. Now let's expand this, and we are done. Now SUMIF. So SUMIF is used when you wanted to take the sum of a certain range if certain condition is true. So let's say I wanted to take the sum of only those rows where I have true, present in this particular column. So how we will write this formula is equal to SUMIF. Now the very first condition or my very first input that it takes is the range. So I wanted to apply the condition on this column. Again, I'll freeze this. So let's apply freezing using F4, comma, what is the criteria? If this any of the values in this particular column matches true, then comma, I wanted to take the sum of this column. Again, I'll select it and I'll apply freezing using F4 and let's press enter. Now I'm getting 284, which is the summation of this value plus this value plus this value. Similarly, if I expand this formula to other rows, now here it will not work out because we haven't selected any component that describes the subject. So if I want this to be applied for science, I have to unfreeze this. Anyway, I hope you guys would have understood how to apply SUMIF. Now let's proceed with some date functions. Date functions are like very frequently used functions in Excel and you might need in multiple cases. So there is a function known as today. Now this will return you the date for today. So the today's date is 27th of February 2023. So we get the today date. Now this function returns you the date and the time for the current, like right now. What is the time and the date right now? So time is 427 and the date is 27/2/2013. And then if you wanted to format this date, let's say I wanted to format this date in any other format, what you need to do, just right click, go to format cell, then go to date and select any format which you want. So let's say I want this format where I want the particular month to be written in characters in a string. Let's press OK. Let's first of all click on this, then press OK, and you will find out that we have the format as in 27 February 2023. Now let's say we wanted to perform the extraction. Given the particular date and time, I wanted to extract the day component, the month component, the year component. For day, we have the day formula. So day, and this is the particular date from which I have to extract day. So day is 27. Then for month, we have month. So month is 02, and for year, it is year, which is 2023. So this is how we can apply the various date functions if the requirement is to extract. Now let's say I wanted to perform addition and subtractions with date. I wanted to basically, if I wanted to add some days or I wanted to subtract 2 dates. So for the days difference, you can use the formula days and the start date comma end date, and it will return you the number of days. Then let's say I wanted to perform the differencing. Now if your particular data in the cell is of the date format, then addition subtraction will work as it works for any other item, data item. So if I say is equal to this value minus this value, I'll get the difference in the number of days. Let's say I wanted to calculate the number of hours in this 11 days. So I'll just multiply each day with 24. So that will be is equal to this value multiplied by 24. So you'll get the total number of hours. Let's say you wanted to get the total minutes. So I'll multiply this with 60 and you will get the total minutes. Now we have a specific function known as DATEDIF, which will help you to get the difference in the required output. Let's say I wanted to find out the difference in the terms of days, or maybe I wanted to find out the difference in the terms of years or in the terms of months. So then we should use DATEDIF. So I'll say DATEDIF then start date comma end date comma the unit. So I need number of days, so I'll select D. I'll expand this formula and you will get the number of days, but here I need number of months, so is equal to DATEDIF the start date comma end date comma number of months. And if I need number of years, again DATEDIF start date comma end date and number of years. So you can see that we can easily derive the particular date component using the DATEDIF formula. Now let's proceed with formatting. So let's say if this is my raw data and I wanted to generate the data in this formatted type, how we can do this? Let's quickly copy this data first of all and add it in a new worksheet. I'll add it over here. Now the very first thing that we will do is to change this sheet name. I'll call this as final marks. Now we will add borders. So let's select the complete table. The very easy method to select the complete table is go anywhere in your table and then use Control Shift Spacebar, and you will find out that your complete table has been selected. We need borders, so add all borders. And now I wanted to adjust the spacing between them. So what you can do, you can select all the columns and click anywhere in between the two columns. It will automatically adjust the width of each column based on the content that a particular column consists of. Now here you can see that we have a lot more zeros. I do not need so many zeros, so let's reduce it. Let's reduce it to 2 decimal places. Similarly, for this I do not need so many decimal places. Let's reduce it to 2 decimal places. Now these are my columns which are different from all other columns, so let's color them in a different with a different color. And this is my data, so let's color them with some other color. So I'll use a blue over here, and for students I'll make them as italic, and I'll make the list of subjects as bold, and here I'll bold average, and here I'll bold total and percentage. Now let's say I wanted to apply formatting, conditional formatting. What is the meaning of conditional formatting? Here you can find out the tab conditional formatting, which comes with a lot of options. Based on a particular condition, you can apply formatting. First of all, I'll select this range. I'll go to conditional formatting and I'll say I need data bars. Now you will automatically find out that based on the color which you are looking for, you can add the data bars, and the data bars will appear according to the number the particular cell is consisting of. So let's use the green color. So here, for those who have obtained 100, you can find out that the complete cell is filled with the green color, and accordingly you can see for 45 it is less than the half cell, and this is basically the bars for various values that appear in the cell. Now let's say I wanted to highlight all those people who have scored more than, let's say, 85. So I'll go to conditional formatting, highlight cell, greater than, and the value that we'll choose over here is 85. Now which color you want? So I want it to be filled with custom format. I'll go to fill, I'll choose a green color, and I'll click OK, and I'll click OK, and you can see that there is a solid color which has been filled for all those students who scored more than 85. Now like this we have multiple other options. Let's say I wanted to highlight all those students who are scoring less than, let's say, 45 or 35. So less than 35, and again I need a custom color. Maybe I need a red text or a red border. Okay, so now there is no student who has scored less than 35. Let's quickly change a value. Let's change this value. Okay, this is red. I don't know whether you guys are able to view it or not. So let's change or edit the condition. Manage rule, and this is the rule. I'll go to edit rule, and as of now the format is border, which is red color, but now I'll also choose the red color, and I'll change the border to black itself, and click OK, and click OK, and apply, and then OK. Now you can see that I'm getting a red color, which basically means this student has scored less than 35. Let's apply some conditional formatting over here. So let's say I wanted to find out the top 3 students. So click on top 10 items. I want top 3. So I'll choose the number 3 from here and choose the color or maybe the format in which you wanted to fill them. So I want to fill them with green color, or maybe let's use a light green color. Click OK, click OK, and you can see we are getting top 3. Similarly, we have bottom 3, we have a lot more functions you guys can explore because these are very straightforward. Let's say above average. So it will basically help you to highlight all those values which are above average. This will help you to highlight all those values which are below average. Let's go to color scale. Now color scale will help you to basically add a scale but using a color. For example, if I use this green, yellow, red. So green means the highest value, yellow means those values which are in middle, red means those values which are in the lowest. So if you assume a number line, you will get a green color for 100, you will get a red for 0, and between you will get yellow. So this is your color scale. Now here if you guys carefully observe, we have 94, 96 appeared as green, 81, 81, 74, 69, they are less green, not completely green but little bit less. 52, 53, 45, since they are near to average or maybe near to the middle point of the number line, you are having yellow color, and then we have reds. So as you are moving towards the lower side, you are getting more and more red, As you are moving towards the higher side, you are getting more and more green. That's the number scale. Sorry, the color scale. Now let's come to the last conditional format, which is using icon. If you go to the last option, which is icon set, you can find out multiple icons which you can use to highlight a value based on the previous value. Let's try to use this one. Here the first value is 92, but the second value has been dropped significantly, so there is a red sign. Again the red value has been significantly up, so there is a up green sign. Again this value has not dropped significantly, so there is a yellow arrow but pointing like towards horizontal line or between or like a mid scale. Again this value dropped, so red, dropped, then up, then mid, then dropped. So these arrows are created based on the previous value. You may not be using it most significantly, or maybe you might use it based on your application that you're working on, but these are some conditional formats which you might use a variety of time, and it actually helps to make your life easy when you are trying to perform data analysis or maybe trying to highlight some values in your table. Now let's try to move to the next topic, and which is the most significant topic, which is pivot tables. Pivot tables are the most useful technique when it comes to Excel, because it can help you to analyze the data very quickly, and it will provide you with such functions due to which you do not have to do your task manually. For example, you have seen that if I wanted to take a sum using a condition, we were applying SUMIF formula. If I have to count based on a condition, we were applying COUNTIF formula. But if you want to do this very quickly using just drag and drop, then pivot tables are the best functionalities. So let's try to understand them. If you wanted to apply pivot, first of all select your table. Again, to select the complete table, I'll use the shortcut key Shift Control Spacebar, and it will select my complete table. I'll go to insert, I'll click on pivot table, and I want the table to be created in a new worksheet, so I'll click OK, and here you go, you have the pivot table created. Now it comes with 4 components: column, row, value. So what you wanted to keep on row, what you wanted to keep on column, and using which column you wanted to fill the table, which value. Then if you have any filter to apply, let's say I wanted to find out, so what this data was about the salesperson, the product that it was sold in which region, who was the customer, date, the item cost, number of items, and the total cost. Let's say I wanted to find out which salesperson has sold how many products. I select salesperson, put it in rows, then I will go to product and put it in values. Now you can see that we are able to generate the number of products that each salesperson was able to sell. Here, if you guys carefully observe, as soon as I insert it, so let me remove this field, let me put product again. Now as soon as I inserted my field product in the value tab, Excel has automatically selected count. Since this particular column was a string type column, or maybe the data was non-numerical, the default value or the default aggregation function is count. But if you want to change this, simply click on this drop down menu, go to value field setting, click on any of the aggregation function which you are looking for, and click on OK, and you are done. Now if you wanted to also find out that what is the region wise distribution, so This is something which we can do by adding region to columns. And here you can see that this salesperson is working in two regions. Region number, region name NE and NW, and he or she has sold 52 and 19 products. The total are 71. Similarly, this person, which is salesperson 10, is working in only one region, which is SE. Now if you guys are not able to read it, you don't have to worry about it. Just go to borders, add all the borders, and you are good to go. So you will find out that now you are easily able to read it. If I remove the columns, I'll get the borders only for the rows and the values. Now if I wanted to apply filter also, so let me quickly add another component, which is region. And now I wanted to apply filter. There is a mechanism over here which will filter the entire table. If you wanted to apply filter on one column, let's say salesperson, you can go to here and then you can select the filter from here. Let's say I only wanted to look for the details of salesperson number 11. So this is where we can filter a particular column. But let's say I'm having rows and column both. So let me quickly select region, put it on my columns, and let me use the date attribute, put it on my filter. Now I wanted to look at the data which is of January. In January, how many products each salesperson was able to sell. So I'll select January, click OK, and the complete table will change for the January sale. But if I want to select multiple, I'll use this checkbox, and now I can select multiple entries. So here the details are for the month January, February, March and April, which is one quarter. Now this is what we can do with the pivot tables. Pivot tables are really amazing. Once you start exploring it, you will start enjoying it. But let's now proceed with the third or maybe the last technique, which is we are going to learn as the part of basic Excel, which is lookup. Now we have two kinds of lookup, the vertical lookup and the horizontal lookup. Both are amazing functions, and you will find yourself using both the functions multiple times. Let's understand what is the meaning of VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP means you are willing to look for a value vertically. For example, let's say I'm having so these are my student numbers and these are the marks in music, but I want to fill this particular table. So let's say this is not available, this is all missing. So I want to find out what is the marks of student number 1 in this table, and I want this value to be appeared over here. What is the marks of student number 2 in music, and I want this value to be appeared over here. Similarly, what is the marks of student number 3 in music, and I want this value to be appeared over here, and so on. How we will do that is equal to VLOOKUP. We wanted to look for this value in this table array. Look for this value in this particular table, and I'll freeze this table because I do not want this table to change. So I'll use F4. Now once I'm able to match, so if this value is matching anywhere in this particular table, return me the value that is in the second column. So this is first column, this is second column, so I'll write 2. Then I need the match to be done exactly. So for exact match I use false, or you can use 0 also, and enter. Now you can see that I'm getting 45 because for student 1 the marks are 45. Now simply we can expand this formula. for student 5, the marks are 100, and here you can see. So this is what is the meaning of vertical lookup. Now what is horizontal lookup or HLOOKUP? In HLOOKUP, what we do, we wanted to look for a particular value in a table array, but horizontally. So I'm saying, let's say this is missing. I'll delete this. Now what I wanted to do, I wanted to look for the value maths in this table array, and if it matches, then return me the marks for student number 6, which is row number 2. So let's write out the formula is equal to HLOOKUP. I'm looking for this value maths, and I want the column to be intact. So dollar, comma, the table array is this, and I'll freeze this table array. So F4, then comma. I want to, so if this value, which is maths, matches this table array over here, then return me the second row. So second row means, so this is the first row, which is the subject names. Second row is the marks of student number 6. And I again want the exact match. So I'll use 0. So I'm getting 83. For the maths marks for student number 6 is 83. Let's expand this formula. So for, okay, we have done one mistake. We should have not freeze the column. Instead, we should have freeze the value. But anyway, if I do not freeze any of them, I'll be able to simply expand the formula. And now we have 99 for English, sorry, science, and 85 for English, which is over here. So this is how we can apply HLOOKUP. So these were the basic operations that everyone should be aware about if they wanted to use Excel. And if you have clearly understood all these things, you are good to go and start your journey in Excel. But there is one more thing which is not so much widely popular, but it is very useful. People don't use it because they hardly know about it, but it is really useful to make your life easy. If you wanted to use Excel as a coding language, then having a knowledge of macros is really great. Now let's try to understand how we can use macros functionality in Excel to write custom functions and what else we can do with macros. In order to utilize the macros functionality, you have to first of all activate the developer option. Now where you can find out the developer option, so go to files, go to options, and here you can get the option as customize ribbon. Now if you scroll down, you will find out the developer option. You can check this and click OK. And now you can find out the developer option. As soon as you open this, you will find out the Visual Basic and the macros option. Now Visual Basic is basically the platform on which we write macros code. So macros is basically the code block that we write in order to basically define our objective or define our logic. So we will click on Visual Basic and you will get an interface like this. Now here we haven't opened any macro file to write down the macro code. So what we have to do, let's quickly expand this little bit. Now here, since we are working on this file, so VBA project macros.xlxx, it will display you all the files which are currently open in your system. Since I have opened all the files, so that is the reason all the files are visible to me over here. But I'm only concerned about this file because I'm working with this. I'll go to macros Excel object and you will find out that here we have two components, sheet 1 and this macros. Now what we have to do, we have to generate, let's say, a function, a custom function or a function according to our need. The very easy way to do this is go to insert, click on module, And here you can see that it has added one module. You can rename this module. Let's say this is my func1 function 1, and if I press enter, you can see that the function name has been changed. Now how we define the function? To define the function, we start with the keyword function, then space, and then the name of the function. So let's say the name of the function is result. Then what value it will take? So it will take the value as m, which is marks. Then we will go to the next line. Now as soon as I press enter, you can see that it has automatically created the starting and the end block. So function and the end function. Now between this we have to generate or maybe explain our logic. I'll say if the marks are less than 35, then your result is needed to be, so I cannot use result, I should use res, because result is already a taken function, so I use res. Res is equal to fail. Then else if marks are less than 60, then my result is equal to B. Else if my marks are less than 80, then result is A. Else result is A plus, and now we will end the if. So when we write the if block, just carefully observe the code. We have written the function block, which starts with the keyword function, ends with end function, and if block starts with the keyword if, ends with end if. Then between that we have elif, what it will return, then else if, and then finally else. This is how we simply write a function. Let's save this, and it is asking us whether you want to save this file as a VBA file or not. So the following feature cannot be saved in macro free workbook VB project. To save a file with these features, click no and then choose a macro enabled file type in the file type list. So I'll click no. I'll choose macro enabled workbook and then I'll click save. Macros.xlm already exists, so I'll say no. I'll change the name. I'll say this is macro class or maybe macro scalar, and I will save this. Now if I want to apply this formula, I'll maybe minimize this. Let's create some sample data. So we have marks and we want results. So my marks are, let's say 98, and let's use the random function over here. RANDBETWEEN. I want the numbers random between 0, 100, and let's expand this for some 10-20 rows. Now let's apply the function is equal to res. Here you can see that now we are able to get the function res, and this will take the marks as an input, and now you are getting whether the person has failed or whether the person has received a certain grade. So this person has failed because the marks are less than 35, and this person has obtained A plus because the marks are greater than 90. So this is how we can create custom functions, and custom functions are really useful because it might happen multiple times where you have to use a particular logic multiple times. So instead of writing multiple ifs using the formula in the workbook or the sheet itself, it is better to create a custom function and then use it whenever you want. And that's really easy, and it will help you, your team, to basically use the same logic throughout your team. Now let's say you wanted to generate a form like this. And let's first of all understand what exactly this form is helping us with. So here I'm having two buttons, insert detail and search detail. And here I'm having three columns, name, age, and department. Let's say you are working for the HR department for any company, let's say Amazon. Now, if you wanted to insert the detail, one way is to manually go and insert the details. But the better way is to create an interface like a form where HR or maybe any person can enter the detail. So here I have created a tab on which if I click, I'll get a form like this where I can enter my details, or maybe they enter details of a new employee. So name is, let's say, Saket, age is, let's say, 24, and the person has joined the marketing department. So I'll select marketing and I'll enter the detail. Now, as soon as I press enter detail, you will find out that the new detail will be getting added in row number 7. So you can see row number 7, Saket 25, marketing. If I'll close this, no problem. Now let's say I wanted to search for a particular person. So search detail. Here you are getting all the names. Let's say I wanted to search the details for Suneja. I'll click this and you are getting the details for that particular person. The age is 45. The department is HR. Let's say I wanted to change the details for Suman. I'll click Suman, and let's say she has changed her department from marketing to let's say sales. So I'll select sales. Now as of now, against Suman we have marketing. If I click on enter details, you are able to get sales. So how we can generate this? This is very easy but requires a lot of patience. So let's see how we can generate this. Now the very first thing I'll do, I'll create a new sheet and I'll call this as HR database. I'll go to Visual Basics and I'll close this because I don't need this. I'll close this, I'll close this, and then we'll click on the sheet with which I was working with. So we are working with macros scalar. Let's close this sheet also. I don't need this. Don't save. And here now you can see we only have macros scalar. Now I wanted to insert a new form. So I'll go to module and I'll go to insert and I'll click on user form. Now first of all I have to design the user form. Here we have the toolbox. Let's design. So first of all I'll add the title. You can go to this particular properties tab, change the caption to, let's say, scalar HR department, and once you press enter you will see that the particular text has been changed. If you wanted to change any other property, so if you wanted to change the font, just click on this. You can make the font as bold, increase the size as 14, and we will keep the font as default. Let's click OK. We wanted to make it as center aligned, so text alignment, we will choose center, and now we will increase the box. So here we have the text, maybe the title. Now I need another label which we are going to call as employee ID. Again, I'll go to caption and I'll call this as E-ID. I'll press enter. Now I want a text box, and here we will change the name of this text box. So I'll call this text box as TB1. Now the reason we are calling this as TB1 is because we are going to call this text box in our macros code. So TB1. Again, we will take another text, and I'm going to call this text as name. Again, I need a text box where the person can enter the name. I'll call this text box as TB2. Then I need the third text box with salary. So caption is changed to salary. And I'll press enter, and I'll again enter a text box. So here we have entered 3 text boxes. The size and the other things are not properly aligned, so you guys can do it. I'm leaving it as it is right now. Okay, now we have to add a button which can let us submit the details. So we'll go to the command button. Where is it? Text box, combo box, list box, checkbox, option button, toggle button, command button. And we will change this button name to CB1. And we will change the description to add details. Okay. Now what I need, when I click on this button add details, what should happen? My code should find out the last row in this particular cell or in this particular sheet. So let's add EID, name, salary. So I want my macros code, so let me just format it. My macros code should find out the cell which is empty, and then it should enter or add the detail. That is what I want when I click on this button, which is add details. So since I wanted to add a code on top of this button, I'll double click on this button and it'll open a window which says CB1 click. So when I press click on this button, what operations you want this particular button to do? So what operations I want? First of all, I want to fetch out all the values. So let me just reduce this. So I want to extract the name, the employee ID. So EID is equal to this user form. Let's change the name of this user form. If you want to change the name of the user form, click on the user form so that your user form is selected, and here you can change the name of the user form to UF1. Now you will find out, okay, here the name should be changed as UF1, and here I'll change this as let's say details, or maybe enter details. So this particular entry caption will be visible to you when you open this form, will be visible to the user, And this name attribute is something which we are going to use as a part of the code. And that is the reason I have shortened it down so that my code does not look complicated. Now I wanted to add the code on this button, add details. So I'll click on add details and I double click. So I'll get this code. So I was writing EID is equal to, so first of all, I'm getting the name or maybe the values from each of the text box. EID is equal to, which is employee ID, is equal to UF1. So in the UF1 basically means user form 1 dot TB1. So the first text box is named as TB1 dot value. I need the value. Then similarly I need N, which is my name, UF1 dot TB2 dot value, and then I need salary, which is S, UF1 dot TB3. I think we haven't changed the name of the third box. Let's change it. This box name has not been changed, so let's change this to TB3. And now we can add the details. S is equal to UF1 dot TB3 dot value. Now we have extracted employee ID, name and salary. Now I have to find out that row in my Excel file or Excel sheet where I do not have any detail. The row is empty. I will start my iteration from row number 2. So I is 2 because the first row is my column names. So I is equal to 2. And then I'll write a while loop. The reason we are using a while loop is because, so those of you who do not know the difference between while loop and for loop, we use while loop when we want the loop to keep running until certain condition is true. We use for loop when we know how many times I have to run the loop. So here we are using while loop because I want the loop to keep running until the particular loop is able to find out the empty row. So do while, we use do while to initiate the while loop. Now this workbook, basically this workbook is named as this workbook. Here you can find out. So I'll write this workbook dot, what is the name of the worksheet? So if you guys remember, we have created the sheet as HR database. So I'll have to mention that worksheets, and the name of the worksheet is HR database. Then cell. So in the workbook, I am referring to HR database sheet. In the sheet, I am referring to a certain column, a certain cell. So cell I comma 1. What is I comma 1? So in the cell parameter, we define row comma column. So my I in the first iteration is 2. 2 comma 1 means second row first column. Second row first column means this particular cell. Dot value. In this particular column, if the value is not equal to empty, then what you have to do, I have to go to the next row. So I'll say I is equal to I plus 1. If it is not empty, I should end the loop. The way to end the loop is writing loop. And then once I have done with the loop, I have got the value of I. Then in this value of I, I'll add the details. So I'll say cells I comma 1 is equal to N. Sorry, it will be EID. Cells I comma 2 is equal to N, and cells I comma 3 is equal to S. Now if you guys are not able to understand it, let's quickly understand it again. So I'm asking my macro code to refer to form number 1, refer to text box number 1 and get the value, preserve it in the variable EID. Similarly, get the name, preserve it in N. Get the salary, preserve it in S. Then I'm trying to find out the row which is empty. So do while, run the loop until you find out a cell. So I have started my iteration from row number 2. So 2 comma 1, which basically means I am referring to the first column only. 2 comma 1 is not equal to empty. If the row is not equal to empty, means if the row is already occupied, then increase the value of I. Go to next iteration, go to next row. Else stop the loop. Else loop means stop the loop. And we have obtained the value of I, the final value of I. Then in that row and column number 1, I am adding employee ID. In that row which we have obtained and column number 2, I am adding name. In that row and column number 3, I am adding salary. Let's save this and let's try to play this. So if you click on this play button, you will see that now we are able to use this form. Let's try to add details. So employee number is 123, name is Sumit, salary is let's say 1000, and we will click on add details. Now you can see that we are able to add details. 124, let's say Shreya, and salary is 2000. Enter. Then 123 or maybe 125, let's say Saket, and salary is 1500. Add details. So you can see that we are easily able to add the details. So we are done with the first part of creating the form. Let's create the next form which can help us to search and edit the details. So I'll close this, and now I'll close this one also because we are done with this form. We'll close this one also. We'll create the new form. Go to forms, insert, user form. We'll rename this form. So here I'll call this as UF2. Enter. And caption, we will change this as, let's say, search and edit. Enter. Now I'll go to the previous form, and the reason we are going to the previous form is we will copy all the details. So simply Control A, Control C, and paste this in the new form. Now this will save our time. That's the reason we have done this. So to adjust everything, again Control A, and you can bring everything to down. Now instead of employee ID having a text box, let's have a drop down menu. This will help us to find out to basically get all the currently added employee IDs. So I'll delete this, and instead of this I'll get the list box over here. I'll change the length, breadth, or maybe the better way is to click on list box, get the design tool and design it. And I'll make this little bit wider so that all the details are clearly visible. So I'll just adjust it a little bit and make this little bit wider. Now let's change the name of this box as LB1, which is list box 1, and all other names will remain the same. This is TB2, this is TB3, this is LB1, and this is add details. Now what I want, as soon as this particular form appears to a user, I should get this particular list box filled with all the current available employee IDs. So I'll double click on this and I'll get private sub LB1 click. Now this is not what I want. I want when the form is active. as soon as this form is active, so I'll click on the form, and from here it is right now saying user form click. No, when the form is active, as soon as the form is visible to the user, as soon as the form is activated. So I'll click active. What I want all the employee IDs to be visible in the LB1 box. So let's delete this one because I don't need this. I don't need this as of now. Let's fill this. So I'll find out all the entries. Let me write the code, then it will be easy for you guys to understand. So first of all, I'm declaring a variable. DIM stands for dimension. Declaring a variable as last row as long, and declaring a variable as I as long. Now this is something which is optional, but it is a good practice if you define the variable. Even if you don't do it, it will not affect your code. First of all, I'm going to find out the last row. What I mean, if I go back to my Excel sheet, my last row is row number 4. So from 2 to 4, I will run the for loop to extract this particular value to display it in my list box. So I need to first of all find out the last row till which the particular value is available. Let's go to our visual code, or the macro code, and we will say last row is equal to this workbook dot worksheet, which is the second one. Then the name of the worksheet is HR database, and in this particular worksheet I'm referring to cell number, second row, and column is A. You can write 1 also, but I'm just helping you with another way. And dot end Excel down dot row. Now what is the meaning of this? I'm saying go to the workbook, this workbook, go to the particular worksheet which is HR database, go to this particular cell 2A, which is this cell 2A, and then from here start going down the row. Excel down means start going down the row till end. So row means row wise I am going down, end means till the end, Excel down means down, and it will stop wherever it will find out the last value present. That will be my last row. Now I will write a for loop which can extract all the values from row number 2 to the last row. So for I is equal to 2 to the last row, I want list box 1 dot add item cell row number I, comma, column number 1 dot value. So what I am saying, run a for loop from row number 2 to the last row and go to each cell, extract the value, add that value in my list box number 1. How we end the loop? So to end the while loop, we write loop, but to end the for loop, we write next I. And we are done. Let's save this. And let's now play this. So now you can see that I am getting all the values 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5. Now let's try to write down the search option, so that once I select any one, I should get all the value populated. So let's close this. Now when I click a value, when I select a value from LB1, then corresponding to that value, all other tabs or all other text box should get the corresponding value. Maybe let's take one example. If I select 1 to 5, then Saket should appear in my name text box, salary should appear in my salary text box. How we can do this? So since I want this to be done on click, I'll go to my LB1 box, double click, and here you can see that LB1 click. Now I will first of all declare a variable. So dim selected value as a string. So I want this variable to be declared as a string. Now first of all, I will find out the last row so that I can again write a for loop to find out which particular value is matching this selected value. So before that, let's fill this selected value column, or sorry, selected value variable with the value that LB1 has selected or LB1 has captured. So I'm saying the person, let's say if you are clicking on 1 to 3, then LB1 dot value will become 1 to 3, and that is my selected value. Now I'm going to find out the last row. I'll just copy this code. That's the exact same code to find out the last row. I'll copy it, paste it over here, and now I'll write a for loop. For I is equal to 2 to the last row, what I want to do, if my condition is cell I comma 1, so I'm trying to match the value on the first column because that is the employee ID. So if cell I is equal to 1 dot value is equal to the selected value, then what I want, my text box number 2, TB2, should display cell I comma 1, and that will be cells I comma, okay, cells I comma 2 dot values, and TB3 will display cells I comma 3 dot value. And this is pretty much simple and logical. I'm saying find out that particular I where I'm able to find out this selected value in my first column. If I'm able to match that, then TB2 should display the second value in the same row. Second value means second column in the same row, and TB3 should display the third value, the third column value in the same row. And then we have to exit the for loop. We have to end the if condition, and we have to end the for loop. Exit for loop is required. So if these conditions are matching, if this condition is matching, then my for loop should immediately stop. Then I'm closing my if condition also, and I'm closing my for loop. If this is not matching, let's say if none of the values matches, so the first value is not matching. Let's say in the first iteration I will be 2. So 2 comma 1 is not matching with the selected value. Then it will go to next I. 3 comma 1 is not matching. Then it will go to next I, and so on. Let's save this. And let's try to check whether this is working or not. So if I select 1 to 4, I'm getting Shreya 2000, which is correct. Now we are done with the 2 tasks. The last task that is left is when I click on add detail, if I make any change over here, that detail should be edited over here. How we do this? Let's close this. I'll close this one also. I'll go to form, and I'll double click on add details. So CB1 click. So when I'm clicking, again, this code will remain the same. This complete code will remain the same. The only thing that will change is over here. Now what I have to do, in my cell I, 2, I should add this value, which is tb2 dot value. So if the person has entered a value in tb2, that should be added to cell I, 2, means that particular row, second column. And similarly, I have to change this one also. Cells I, 3 dot value is equal to tb3 dot value, and everything will remain the same. Let's save this. Let's play this. So now if I select 1, 2, 4, I'm getting Shreya 2000. Let's say I wanted to update her salary to 2500. Press add detail. You can see that details are getting updated. So we are done with both the forms. But how to create a select button? Let me close this one. Let me close this one also. Let me minimize this. You have to go to developer tab, click on insert, click on ActiveX control and use a command button. Place it over here. You can double click over here. Make this command button caption to add details. Press enter, and here you will mention uf1.show. So if the person is clicking on this particular button, I should show uf1, which is form number 1. Let's save this and close this one, minimize this. I'll create one more button, which will be, double click on this, go to caption. This will be search and edit. Search and edit. I'll click enter, and here I'll say uf2 dot show and press enter. I'll save this and I'll go to play button. Now here you are getting, let's close this. Let's close this one also because we are done with all the coding. Now click on add detail. We are getting the add tab. Let's add 1 to 9. Name is, let's say, Sunit. Salary is 5,000. Click add detail. Okay, we are able to add. Let's close this. Let's click on search and edit. I want the details of 1 to 4. Let's say 1 to 9. I wanted to edit the salary to 4,500. Let's click add details and it is done. So I hope this is something which you guys found it very interesting. This is a very simple form that we have tried creating, but if you have understood this, you guys might have got the idea regarding how we can create more interesting forms that can really add value to your task. So if you wanted to do a really complicated task of entering data and making a lot of complicated search, macros is something which will make your life very easy. Also, using custom function is something which is really great, and you can use macros to write any sort of functions. You can use macros to do a lot of things. So that was all about this particular video. I hope you guys enjoyed and had a wonderful time listening to me. I also hope that this video helped you to start your journey with Excel, and also you got to understand how you can use macros to automate your task. Before you leave this video, please don't forget to subscribe to our Scalers YouTube channel. Give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss any update from us.